Imagine the dust rising under the hooves of livestock in the heat of a 7th century Arabian afternoon. The air in the marketplace of Medina is thick with the scent of spices, unwashed wool, and the bleating of sheep. Traders in rough-spun cloaks exchange gold dinars and silver dirhams, their weight heavy, cool, and reassuring in the palm. This was the world in which the divine rules of Zakat were revealed to humanity. It was a world of tangible, undeniable substance. If you possessed 40 sheep, one was due to the poor. If you held 5 camels, a sheep was given in gratitude. Wealth was something you could touch, count, herd, and physically separate. It was visible to the community, a physical testament to God's bounty that occupied real space. Fast forward 14 centuries, and the landscape of fortune has shifted into the abstract. We stand now in the cool, humming glow of server farms and the silence of digital wallets. A fortune worth thousands of herds of camels can now exist as a cryptographic string, invisible to the eye, weightless in the hand, stored on a USB drive or on a cloud server halfway across the world. This radical dematerialization brings us to the precipice of a profound theological crisis. The question echoing through the halls of modern Islamic scholarship is simple yet devastating. Is this digital code truly mal? Is it wealth worthy of purification? For centuries, the definition of mal was anchored in utility and storage. Wealth was defined as that which could be hoarded and used in times of need. Gold, silver, grain, livestock, these were the standards. But as we moved from the tangible to the paper note, and from the paper note to the pixelated numbers on a banking app, the jurists of the Sharia have had to sprint to keep pace with innovation. In the last few years, specifically between 2024 and 2025, a consensus has begun to emerge from the major fiqh councils and scholars across the globe. The verdict leans heavily towards recognition. If a digital asset is treated as valuable by custom, if it can be stored, and if it can be used as a medium of exchange or a store of value, it qualifies as mal. Therefore, the obligation of zakat applies. The moment your digital portfolio reaches the nisab, the minimum threshold equivalent to 85 grams of gold, the clock starts ticking on your lunar year. However, this acceptance is not without its fierce and vocal detractors. The extreme volatility of cryptocurrency introduces the concept of Gharar, excessive uncertainty or risk, often akin to prohibited gambling. How can one purify wealth that might lose half its value between the morning prayer and the evening prayer? Is holding Bitcoin an act of legitimate investment, or is it a game of chance forbidden by the Prophet? This is where the nuance of modern theology shines. Scholars argue that volatility alone does not equate to gambling. The intention, the underlying technology, and the utility matter. If the purpose is to store value and participate in a new economy, it is not merely a roll of the dice. Thus, we see a fascinating evolution, the legitimization of the intangible. By declaring crypto as subject to zakat, the scholars are effectively baptizing the blockchain. They are bringing this wild, untamed frontier of finance into the fold of sacred responsibility. They are stating that even in the ether of the internet, the rights of the poor remain absolute. The form of wealth changes, shifting from the camel to the code, but the divine command remains immutable. Purify what you own so that the rest may be blessed. History, unfortunately, is often a record of human frailty. The institution of zakat, while divine in origin, has always been administered by fallible hands. Walk through the archives of the 19th and 20th centuries, and you will find the dusty ledgers of waqf boards and charitable trusts that tell a complicated story. Too often, these pages reveal what we might call the trust deficit. Funds meant for the widow and the orphan vanishing into the pockets of bureaucracy, or being eroded by administrative inefficiency. The intended purification of wealth becomes murky as it passes through the labyrinth of human administration. It is a skepticism that lingers in the minds of the faithful today. A donor in London or Jakarta hesitates before clicking send, wondering if their hard-earned contribution will truly reach the tent of a refugee in the Levant or a hungry child in the Sahel. This crisis of confidence is not just a logistical failure, it is a spiritual wound, dampening the enthusiasm for one of the faith's central pillars. Into this breach steps a technology paradoxically designed to operate without trust. The blockchain is often described as a trustless system, not because it lacks integrity, but because it does not require faith in a human intermediary. It relies on the cold, hard certainty of mathematics. The ledger is immutable. Once a transaction is recorded, it cannot be erased, altered, or hidden by a corrupt official. This transparency offers a radical solution to the ancient problem of corruption. We are already seeing this theory put into practice in real time. The UNHCR's Refugee Zakat Fund has pioneered the use of blockchain to route contributions directly to eligible families. Platforms like the Giving Block facilitate the transfer of cryptocurrency from donor to cause with a visibility that was previously impossible. The theological implications here are staggering. We are looking at a redefinition of amana, trusteeship. In the classical view, the trustee was a pious individual, someone who feared God and guarded the funds with their life. But if human piety is prone to weakness, can a machine serve as a better trustee? Can an algorithm be the ultimate guardian of the orphan's right? By removing the human element from the chain of custody, we effectively remove the capacity for sin within the transaction itself. A smart contract does not feel greed. It does not rationalize embezzlement. It simply executes the command it was given. This creates a strange and beautiful irony. We are turning to a secular, decentralized, and anonymous technology to uphold a deeply personal religious duty. We are using the tools of the cyberpunk future to restore the sanctity of a 7th century obligation. The immutable ledger becomes a mirror of the divine record, unforgiving, precise, and open for all to see. In this light, the blockchain is not just a financial tool, it becomes a vessel for restoring dignity to the institution of charity. It assures the giver that their duty is fulfilled, and it assures the receiver that their right is protected, untouched by the greed of intermediaries. The transaction hash becomes a modern receipt of righteousness, a digital proof that the covenant has been kept. Yet, as we embrace the precision of the machine, we must ask what is lost in the automation. We turn now to the metaphysical heart of the matter, Niyyah, or intention. In Islamic theology, the action is defined by the intent behind it. Zakat is not merely a tax to be extracted, it is an act of worship, a deliberate purification of the soul. It requires a conscious moment of giving, a recognition of God's sovereignty over one's wealth. Picture a future where a smart contract is linked to your digital wallet. You set it up once, and every lunar year, the algorithm calculates your assets, checks the current price of gold to determine the nisab, and automatically deducts 2.5%, sending it instantly to a verified wallet in a conflict zone. The efficiency is miraculous, the friction is gone, but where is the worship? If the money leaves your account while you sleep, touched only by lines of code, have you truly performed zakat? Or have you merely paid a subscription fee to a spiritual service? This is the tension between modern efficiency and timeless spirituality. The scholars caution us that while automation is permissible, the consciousness of the act must be preserved. The believer must not become passive. The ease of the transaction should not lead to the atrophy of the heart. There is also the profound question of the human bond. Zakat is intended to circulate wealth, but also to build solidarity between the rich and the poor. It creates a relationship, a bridge between two disparate worlds. The anonymity of the blockchain cuts both ways. On one hand, it protects the dignity of the recipient. In the classical tradition, it is often better for the left hand not to know what the right hand gives, to spare the poor the humiliation of asking or feeling indebted. A crypto transfer is silent and faceless. The recipient receives aid without needing to lower their gaze before a benefactor. This aligns beautifully with the virtue of preserving dignity. However, does it also sever the empathetic connection? Does it turn the poor into abstract data points, wallet addresses void of faces and stories? As our financial lives migrate into the digital ether, the challenge for the believer is to ensure that their ethics remain stubbornly human. The technology can carry the value, but it cannot carry the sentiment. It can move the mall, but it cannot transport the Niyyah. As we stand at this intersection of divine law and decentralized finance, the ultimate lesson is perhaps the technology can fix the how of our obligations, but it is up to us to protect the why. The ledger may be immutable, but the heart must remain pliable, ever conscious of the weight of the gold, even when it is turned into light. We must ensure that in our quest for a trustless system, we do not lose the trust in the divine that compelled the charity in the first place.